Imagine spending years working beside someone, sharing scenes, laughter, and long days on a television set, only to hear that same person attack you publicly when you step into the real world. That's exactly what happened to Nancy Kulp in 1984. While running for Congress, she turned on the radio and heard a familiar voice criticizing her campaign. It wasn't a political rival, it was her former co-star Buddy Ebsen, the same man America adored as Jed Clampett on the Beverly Hillbillies. For Nancy, the moment cut deeper than politics. It confirmed something she had quietly lived with for decades. Professionalism and silence don't always earn respect. To understand why that moment hurt so much, you have to go back to the beginning. Nancy Jane Kulp was born in 1921 in Harrisburg, raised in a household where discipline mattered more than charm. Her father worked as a federal tax officer. Her mother was a teacher who later became a principal. In that home, emotions were not performed, they were controlled. Nancy grew up believing that intelligence, accuracy, and responsibility were the real measures of a person's worth. And she was brilliant. She studied journalism at Florida State College for Women and later pursued graduate studies in English and French at University of Miami. During World War II, she served as an officer in the United States Navy through the WAVES program. There, mistakes were not tolerated and emotions were considered weakness. Nancy learned something that would shape her entire life. Control protects you. When she arrived in Hollywood in the 1950s, she didn't chase fame, and she simply worked. Small roles appeared in films like Shane and A Star is Born. She played secretaries, housekeepers, waitresses, smart women who kept stories moving but rarely stood at the center. Hollywood had already decided something about her. She was too tall, her voice too deep, her presence too serious for romantic leads. Then came 1962. Nancy was cast as Jane Hathaway, Miss Jane, in the Beverly Hillbillies. Calm, intelligent, and quietly sarcastic, Miss Jane became the only person in the show who actually understood how the world worked. The series ran for 9 seasons, pulling in millions of viewers every week. Nancy even earned a Primetime Emmy nomination in 1967. But success can also become a cage. Once the show ended in 1971, Hollywood didn't see Nancy Kulp the actress. It only saw Miss Jane. She kept working, appearing on shows like Sanford and Son, and even voicing a character in The Aristocats. But the industry had already placed her in a box. Years later, she tried something completely different. At 62, Nancy ran for Congress in Pennsylvania's 9th District as a Democrat. Her campaign focused on education, healthcare, and environmental protection. She believed public service mattered more than celebrity. But then came the radio ads from her former co-star. The election ended in defeat. 117,000 votes to 59,000. Nancy didn't lash out. She simply said she was disappointed. That restraint defined her entire life. In her later years, she stepped away from the spotlight and began teaching theater at Juniata College, guiding students with the same discipline she had lived by. When Nancy Kulp passed away on February 3, 1991, she left behind something rare in Hollywood. Not scandal, not spectacle, but dignity. Because the truth about Nancy Kulp is simple. She was never the loudest person in the room. She was the one holding the room together.